In this video, I'll show you 7 common reasons why your portraits may not be coming out tack sharp. Hello, I'm Gavin Hoey and you're watching Adorama TV, brought to you by Adorama, the camera store that's got everything for us photographers. Now, when it comes to shooting portraits, there's one thing that's fundamental, and that is getting your portraits sharp. But there's lots of reasons why that might not happen, and in this video I'm going to have a look at 7 reasons why your portraits may not be tack sharp. Now, to find out what they are, let's get a model in, let's get a light set, let's get shooting. So to help me out today, I've got the amazing Jade. Jade is going to be the model for this, and I've got a flash set up at the moment. But let's start by dealing with some of the things that might be stopping you from getting sharp photos, whatever light you're using. The first one is going to be all about lenses, specifically those great lenses with really shallow depth of field. You've seen those pictures, but getting them sharp is quite a challenge. So what I've got is the Olympus 45mm f1.2, and I want to use the f1.2 aperture. It looks great, but watch what happens when I take a few photos. Okay, Jade, here we go. That's great. Lovely. Terrific. Okay. So when I look at these pictures, they look great until I go in close, and then I can see the limitations of the really wide aperture. Yes, something is in focus, but it's often not the thing I actually want. So when it comes to portraits, it's the eyes in focus that really matter. And if your model is turned to the side, it's the eye closest to the camera you want to have sharp. Now, there's a few things you can do. The first one is turn on something like eye detect if your camera has it. The other one, be very careful about how you focus. Okay, what else are you going to find that can cause you problems? Well, next it's going to be ISO. So if you're using something like continuous light, or you just popped your ISO up too high, it may not go well either. Let's take a few pictures at a much higher ISO. So I'm going to crank my ISO up to 6400, which is really high for my camera, and we'll just take the same shots again. Right, let's give this a whirl. So as I'm snapping away, I can see that these look great. They're popping on the viewfinder, they all look lovely and sharp. It's not until I get back to the computer and I have a look at the real close detail that I can see that limitation of the high ISO and how it's degrading the image compared to an image that's shot at the more standard ISO for my camera. Then there's the composition. So I like shooting up close for this sort of work, but maybe you've shot something a bit wider. Well, let's try that. Here we go, Jade. I'm going to step backwards, shoot some wider pictures. That's great. There's a certain logic to this because you can always crop in, but you can't really crop out. However, if you compared a crop picture to one that was almost right in camera, the difference is quite remarkable. If your light source is continuous light, whether that's LEDs or just in natural daylight, there's a few things to consider, but really it boils down to one thing: shutter speed. Shutter speed will make the difference between blurry and sharp photos, and basically the faster your shutter speed, the sharper your photos will be. Well, let's put that to the test. So I'm just going to go with my native ISO. I'm going to go for f8. Let's see what the camera does in aperture priority mode. Here we go, Jade. Okay. I can hear the shutter going click, click, and it's actually giving me a 1/4 of a second shutter speed. There is no way these are going to be sharp photos, so why am I still taking them? And it comes down to 2 things. It's going to be either camera shake or model movement, or possibly both, I guess. Now, you could get around camera shake by using a tripod, but that's no use whatsoever if your model's moving, and nobody wants a static model. So how can you solve this? Well, you need to increase your shutter speed further, and there's 3 ways you can do that. You could open up your aperture, you could increase your ISO, but we know the problems associated with those, or of course, you could always add more light. And that really brings us onto flash. The first thing you need to know about flash is you are going to have complete control of all of the light in the room. This ambient light that we see now, that's not going to appear in the pictures. But to make that happen, I need to set my camera into manual mode. That gives me control of the aperture, the shutter speed, and the ISO. So I'm going to set my ISO to my camera's native ISO, that's 200 for me. I'm going to go with my flash sync speed. For my camera, that's 250th of a second. Your mileage may vary. And f8 as my aperture. Why f8? Well, two reasons. First one is it gives me a good depth of field, so we should get everything in focus even if my focus point isn't exactly in the right place. And secondly, it is the sweet spot of the lens. It's really where you get the very best quality, so that makes it a good place to shoot. There's a bonus with this as well. It should kill all of this ambient light. What I need to do is take a picture without the flash firing to check one important thing. Here we go, Jade. And all I'm interested in right now is if there's no flash, there should be no photo. That means my camera is underexposing the room lights and it'll only see the flash, and it's the flash that's going to give me the sharpest shots. But if I didn't check this and I used the wrong shutter speed, maybe something much longer, let's say 1/4 of a second, well, I would record both flash and ambient light in the same photo. And during that long exposure for ambient, I would maybe get some camera shake or model movement, and once again, I'd end up with a blurry photo. Now there's one more reason that flash potentially gives you sharper pictures than ambient light, and it's all about flash duration. Now my shutter speed is only there to keep the shutter open whilst the flash fires, and the more you reduce the flash power, the shorter that period of time becomes. So in theory, if I can reduce the flash power down a little bit, I'll get even sharper shots. So I'm actually going to go with an aperture of f5.6 on my lens, take my flash power down just a little bit more. The lower you get your flash power, the shorter that period of time. Remember, no flash, no picture. The flash lasts for a tiny period of time, and that's what's freezing the motion, stopping me getting any camera shake, stopping any Jade movement coming through, and giving us pin-sharp pictures. Right, with that in mind, let's take a few shots and see what we can get. Jade, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. So there you go, 7 reasons why your portraits may not be perfectly sharp. Now, this isn't a definitive list, and depending what kit you use, some or all of these may apply. But if you've got any questions, or you've enjoyed this video, leave me a comment below. Click on the bell icon for regular notifications of all the brand new videos right here in Adorama TV. And of course, don't forget to click on that subscribe button. I'm Gavin Hoey, thanks for watching.